Burkina Faso, the country of honest men, is a landlocked sub-Saharan country located in West Africa. It has a tropical climate with two very distinct seasons, the rainy season from May-June to September and the dry season. Burkina Faso has a population of approximately 18 million inhabitants, of which 80% rely on self-sufficient farming. The majority of central Burkina Faso lies on a savanna plateau known as agroforest parklands. Parklands are characterized by fields, bushes, and scattered multi-purpose trees and farmlands. These trees in arid and semi-arid zones of West Africa are conserved due to their key role in the daily lives of people, as they believe trees to be necessary for their well-being. They guarantee the supplementary supply of human and animal food, traditional medicine, construction, craft industries, and also worship. Agroforestry farmers aim to optimize the ecological interactions between tree and non-tree components to ensure the sustainable production of agricultural ecosystem through the combination of trees and animal production. However, within the last 35 years, climatic change has become more evident in West Africa, associated with less precipitation and higher average temperatures.
Burkina Faso is a target country of the Austrian development assistance. We were also in particular interested in tackling REDD+ outside a tropical forested country, but more on in a country which has semi-arid areas in the lowlands with sparsely populated forest ecosystems, such as the multi-purpose tree, the Prosopis africana there, and which also serves different purposes on a local level. And for that reason, it was very important for us to also help local communities to tackle climate change.
Research in Africa generally concentrates more on food species, but there is more than just food species that are important. First of all, Prosopis is very threatened because it has a wood that has a high calorific value which produces a lot of energy. Due to this property, this species is cut down a lot within their natural habitat, particularly by metal workers for mineral extraction. In addition, it is also highly used for medical purposes, as well as the leaves and fruits that are collected for fodder. So, all these pressures on that species tend to create a real threat, which is why it tends to disappear from its natural habitat. So, it is interesting, before the species completely disappear, to work on its improvement and to estimate all its diversity in order to promote and to implement it within its environment.
Et puis capter toute cette diversité pour pouvoir faire la promotion et puis relancer l'espèce en milieu naturel.
Aujourd'hui, là, il y a le changement climatique. Mais il ne faut pas oublier une chose.
Today, climate change is evident, but you must not forget that there is also a human impact. Human beings also contribute to destroying their environment. Bad practices contribute to destruction of our environment, and all of this put together gives the situation that we have now. If we don't find good techniques and good approaches to exploit the land, then it will become a problem.
The project FCC-TECKTAFOR, which stands for Fighting Climate Change in Burkina Faso, through technical cooperation and knowledge transfer in the agroforestry sector, is part of the REDD+ framework. REDD+ is the reduction of emission due to deforestation and forest degradation. One of the aims of this project was first identifying the existing knowledge of agroforest techniques.
As you know, water is not in surplus in Africa, especially not in the Sahel and sub-Sahel zone. Therefore, we have to use plant material that has a very high water use efficiency in order to use the very limited water supply in Africa in a sustained way. The idea is to make also use of the knowledge of local people. This knowledge may not be accepted in science, it may not be known in science, but we should realize that local people have maybe a much better feeling for biological things than many people from Western countries have.
Farmers from the Sahel regions, such as Yakubu-Sawadogo and Usini-Kindo, have adapted to the uncertainty of climate and recurrent droughts by combining agricultural techniques to forestry and pastoralism.
Concerning the trees, we do not water them. Instead, we have diverse techniques which we apply to store and preserve water during the rainy season. Such techniques allow the soil to stay humid during a long period of time in order to enable trees to survive. For example, half-moons or pits, allowing the maximum water to be infiltrated.
Parklands are particularly vulnerable to climate change. Climate change is the increase in the average atmospheric temperature and a decrease in the average rainfalls. It can be attributed directly or indirectly to human activities.
The strategies put into place in order to recover land are mostly the practice of Zai, stone barriers, and especially the appropriation of tree seeds, as each tree has its own period in which it needs to be sown.
Therefore, it is through direct seeding, the Zai and stone barriers that Yakubu-Sawadogo and Usini-Kindo manage to recover land. The Zai consists of digging small pits and to fill it with compost, leaves, and eventually wood ashes. Another method used is the half-moon technique. In this case, half circles are dug, filled with the same ingredients used for the Zai. Seeds are sown within these holes and covered with a thin layer of soil and dry leaves. In the Zai technique, only one seed per pit is sown. However, in the half-moon technique, a certain quantity of seeds can be sown. The remaining crop stems found in the Zai or the half-moon can play an important role against livestock, transhumans, and wild animals, as animals are unable to reach the new growing seedling. Another major advantage of the Zai or the half-moon technique is that during the rainy season, these pits play the role of water collectors. The water is trapped into these small pits and will slowly infiltrate into the soil, providing the necessary water needed for germination. Compost is the breakdown of organic material such as manure, dry and green plant products, as well as household waste. This degradation produces heat, which is a good quality indicator and eliminates all sorts of plant pathogens. Compost allows attracting all sorts of soil organisms and insects. It also improves soil structure, water infiltration, water retention capacity, and aggregate stability. However, composting needs to be done preferably after the first rains of the rainy season during the month of July.
Even though it is true that the land is still bare, I gather all sorts of twigs and straw, which I distribute more or less equally on my site, in order to attract termites, as they allow good water infiltration.
Just like the worms, which can be used in temperate zones for naturally plowing the soil, termites play an important role in the dynamics and functioning of arid and semi-arid ecosystems. Termites exert massive effects on soil structure, positively influencing the fertility, porosity, aeration, water holding capacity, and water infiltration. However, it is very important that enough dry woody material such as straw is available and in abundance on the field. If not, termites could have a severe negative impact, not only on the living trees, but also on the people.
Another technique is the implementation of stone barriers in their fields. Stone barriers are established manually. These stones are aligned in the fields in order to break the rhythm of water runoff. This allows retaining earth from soil erosion, but also forces water to infiltrate.
Ça facilite l'infiltration.
Today, we take climate change and desertification as our battlefield. When we see degraded land, we really invest time and effort into this land, as we must protect it. Rehabilitating land can bring a lot of income.
Today, Useni Kindo, as well as Yakubusa Wadogo, benefit from their hard work done on their land. However, these efforts are at stake as long as there are no proper land management policies in West Africa.
We were very impressed to see that even in harsh conditions, men and women have decided to really commit themselves to find adaptive conditions to this climate. We have seen the efforts which they have made in order to restore their land for cultivation. We have seen how they have applied agroforestry. We have also seen initiatives from people to plant tree species which provide them additional income. For communities to exploit properly their natural resources, it would be interesting to progress towards the plantation of forest species. Why not do share plantations, nere plantation or baobab plantations? And for this to be a success, it would be interesting to conduct a plant improvement program, select the best individuals to be planted and to disseminate to local people. At this stage, farmers will benefit a lot from our research because when they are going to do their plantations, they will be able to estimate the profit which they can make.
Beside the pure scientific goals and the capacity building component of our project, we provide technical support to our Burkina partner. Together with our partner, we establish a provenance trial that is a field experiment where at different sites, different populations of the same species will be planted in order to identify those populations that are well adapted for very specific environments, and of course we are looking for populations that are very well adapted concerning drought.
Provenance field trials of Prosopis have been put into place in 3 different regions. This will not only be interesting for future results, but it also serves as a means of conservation in which we can find different populations which cover the whole of Burkina Faso. This allows to conserve the species, and at the same time, the provenance trial will allow us to do further research which can be of great interest.
Cela permet de les conserver et à partir même de ces essais de provenance, on peut mener des études beaucoup plus intéressantes.
So we also train other people, young scientists in genetics, in soil science, but also young people who potentially become decision makers in Burkina Faso.
On a une vision beaucoup plus large maintenant quant à l'amélioration de nos espèces.
We have a much broader vision now concerning the improvement of our local species. We really have to capture the genetic diversity within our natural populations before they disappear. So, this is still a great challenge that still needs to be done. But with this knowledge, we will be able to at least satisfy our population expectations, because a lot of people would like to plant our local species. But for us to be able to do this, we would first need to identify appropriate species, and this is exactly what we focus on. We have to be able to provide with our genetic research study efficient and appropriate species for our communities in order for them to start their own plant production.
The drought experiment is another topic that we try to tackle. We have to use plant material that utilizes water in a very efficient way. Therefore, in the long-term perspective, water will be used in Africa in a very sustained way. So as you might know, certain people drink lots of water. Others can walk long distance during hot summers without having a 5-liter bottle in their backpack. And that's the same in plants.
We have used ecophysiological equipment to test the seedlings. The pressure chamber was used to measure plant water potential, the mini pump to measure chlorophyll fluorescence, and also other equipment to measure soil humidity.
So what we do for the first time is we establish a drought experiment under more or less controlled conditions in a greenhouse using ecophysiological measurements in order to assess at a very early stage whether or not certain plant material is drought resistant or not. So every reaction of a plant, of any other organism, is a mix of the genes and the environment. So if you look into my face, I'm the result of my personal genes as well as my personal environment.
I believe it would be very interesting to work on other threatened species such as Bombax costatum, in which the flowers are exploited for food.
Dont les fleurs sont exploitées pour l'alimentation.
This consists to be a very real threat to the species, but in the long term we will observe a genetic loss within our natural populations.
You have to establish a long-term cooperation for the future. That means that they are trained in a continuous way, get used to the measurement techniques, get used to the infrastructure, and very important is that they share the knowledge to other colleagues, and they are as multipliers, and they multiply their knowledge and give it to others.
I think it would be very nice if we could continue with our work in Burkina Faso, maybe on working on the same species, Prosopis africana, but maybe also on a different multi-purpose tree species in Africa, and I'm convinced that this would be for the general good of the African people.
So with all this new knowledge that I acquired, we can do additional research and obtain more results. So, we will be able to do similar studies with other species, like the ones achieved with Acacia Senegal and with Prosopis africana trials. We ask the project for supplementary workshops. We ask for training in terms of tree crafting, pruning, tree production, and to help us organize ourselves.
Nous aider aussi à nous organiser. Sur le plan de l'organisation, on m'a désigné comme...
Concerning the organization, I have been chosen to be the spokesman, and on behalf of all people here, we would like to give our profound gratitude to the project. Each one of us has learned a lot.
Chacun de nous a appris énormément.
For me, there is no life without trees, and when I say there is no life, I refer to animal or human life. So, this is the reason why I believe it is necessary to continue with these activities, because today, whether we say it or not, trees are life.